The Paris Community Nurse Association is the oldest continuing charitable organization here in Paris. It was founded shortly after the end of World War I with monies left over from the war effort. So on December 10th, 1918, the organization was brought together and started for the sole purpose of providing nursing services to residents of Paris at either low or no cost to them. During the history of the Community Nurse Association, we've had a handful of nurses that have been the community nurse. There's been two of those nurses that have been just a huge part of what we are and what we stand for. One is our current nurse, Charlotte Smith, who has been our community nurse since 1987. Prior to Charlotte was a lady by the name of Hazel Collier, and Hazel embodied everything that you hope to find in a small community. She is the reason that we offer the food baskets today. She is basically the person that took the Community Nurse Association from a small program and enabled it to become what it is today. So Hazel went to some of the local business leaders and got funding to provide food baskets. And from what I'm told, roughly about 6 was the first number that were given out. That number has grown over the 76-year history of the organization to what we now provide of 350 food baskets. Our one requirement is that you live in Edgar County. We've branched outside of Paris. We think that the need, of course, is not just in Paris, it's in the whole county. We require that you call in yourself and give your own name. So it starts with that and goes until we get 350 names. Having said that, that usually takes about 5 days. With that, we then take those names and through the month of December, we basically raise the funds for the food basket. We ask for funds through donation, and then 2, we involve all the local schools to collect food items. On the 22nd is the day that we pack all the food baskets, and we do that at Templeton Funeral Home in the garage. At 8 o'clock the next morning, more volunteers show up to basically finish packing the boxes with the perishable items. They go right off the conveyor and we load them into the vehicles for delivery. When we go to pack the food baskets, it's not people that are in their 40s and 50s that are coming to do that. It's kids that are 7 and 8 that come with their parents to help. We have one family that is going into their 4th generation of helpers, which is just absolutely amazing. Year after year, they're some of the best helpers I could ask for. The line of cars start at about 5 a.m. People want to be there, and they know that they know they want to be there. They know they want to help, and the line starts. And at 8 o'clock, when the door opens up and we start loading their cars with the food baskets, the lines just keep coming and coming and coming, and it's absolutely amazing. So there's a couple weeks there where, you have a lot of tired hours into the work, and then once December 22nd rolls around and you see, the people show up to help and the smiles on their faces and they're glad to be there. It's just amazing. It changes something in you that you're just proud to be part of Paris.
Every day I walk in and feel absolutely blessed that we have a new building like that. And yes, it is a pinch myself experience almost every day. Is this really here? Do our kids really have this as part of their program, and they get to benefit from it? There are so many more things going on in that building that went on in the old building. The community really came together to finance this. It's the community's high school, it's their asset, and our kids are just so lucky. The Paris High School that was in existence was erected or finished the building process in 1908. So we were sitting in a building that was over 106 years old, and even though it had served a good purpose and it was still continuing to serve a good purpose for our students, it did not allow for some of the modern technology and learning environments to exist that kids need today to fulfill what they need to in high schools. The old school, of course, sits in the middle of town, and it had its conveniences. I mean, you could get there from anywhere in town in a relatively short amount of time, but it was also landlocked. All of our athletic fields, most of our utility uses around town were a long ways away. The new school is north of town. It's fairly isolated. You're either going to the high school or you don't have any other reason to be out there for the most part. So it has created a much safer learning environment. It's a little bit more isolated. And you know, I don't think the kids really notice. You might have to talk to one of them about it, but with the closed campus and our new lunchroom, I think the kids are pleased to be there, and it creates a much more safe learning environment, and I think it actually draws us closer. It is more than just a school. The facility, of course, the theater is top-notch for anything around this area, and the Paris Community Theater has been hosting events since August, from movies to live acts to plays, high school drama, high school music and arts, as well as the elementary schools in town. And it's becoming quite an asset to the community. The open concepts of the building, the extended learning areas, basically classrooms in the hallway, have allowed classes to observe one another, teachers to watch what each other are doing, and has brought some very unique combinations together, from special ed classes visiting art classes to English and science classes working on projects together. It has truly created a dynamic learning environment that is more 21st century, if you will, compared to what we were able to do in the old building. The new building has a state-of-the-art STEM lab, and it has created learning situations for our kids that were beyond our dreams several years ago. We've basically been adopted by the Eastern Illinois University Science Department. They send people over, have been sending people over all year, from a physics professor to allowing our kids to travel to Eastern to work with professors in real research. We've got several kids that are actually giving their data back to Eastern Illinois University, and what an amazing learning experience that is. You're not looking for a solution that's in a book. You're looking for answers that maybe nobody knows yet. And that's what science is, and our kids get to do that. It's something that's always been true about Paris. From my experience, when there's a need, people step up. And I think this was one of those occasions where the community said, this is our time. This is our time to do something special for generations to come. And we had so many people that came and fought and worked hard to make sure that this high school was able to exist. And our kids are such beneficiaries of that action. So we as educators are so grateful to the community and what they've been able to do for the kids of this community.
We had a beautiful Dalmatian. He was 9.5, and I get emotional. We had to put him down, and the next week in the Beacon News, Edgar County Humane Association had Pet of the Week, and it happened to be Daisy, my dog. So long story short, she became a family member. She was 3 years old at the time. That was almost 8 years ago. Daisy's going to be 11 next month, so she's doing great. So I decided, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help dogs like Daisy find homes. Daisy and I are a team, and we go out and we talk to school kids. We talk to any clubs that ask us to come. My talks are different between the kids and the clubs. The kids, you want to try and teach them the proper way to approach a dog. I always tell them you have to ask the owner before you come up to a strange dog, and then I teach them how to properly pet the dog. They love it. They get to pet Daisy, and she's very soft. With the clubs, I can talk more about the importance of adopting over buying, spay-neutering, how important it is to get your pet spayed and neutered to help with the pet population, as Bob Barker says. A lot of people think shelter dogs are broken and there's something wrong with them, and that's not true. There's something wrong with their owners, to give them up, in my opinion. But there's nothing wrong with them. They love you just as much. If anything else, they're more appreciative, I think, than if they're from a breeder or if they're bought. Owning a pet is a wonderful thing for a family. I think it teaches the kids responsibility. I think when they come in and they adopt a dog, not only have they helped save that dog, but I think sometimes a dog will bring families together. Well, Daisy, like I said, she's definitely my girl. She's a quiet soul. She isn't the type of dog that wants to be on your lap, but she wants to be beside you on the couch. From day one, we just clicked. I just knew that she was going to be a special dog, and she has been. And I just wish everybody could see that you don't have to buy a dog to have this kind of love and devotion that she gives me and that I give her.
When Paris was founded in 1823, they depended on city wells for their water for baking, cooking, bathing, firefighting, and all that. But by the 1890s, the population had increased significantly, and they needed a larger, stable water source. So about 1893, they began discussing, let's build a reservoir lake to meet the needs of Paris. So they employed Charles P. Hitch, who was a former mayor of Paris. He was also a former U.S. Marshal, and he owned the Paris Beacon News. So when this got out, okay, if we're going to build this thing, let's give it a name, okay? So the readers of the newspaper suggested Alexander Park, named after Colonel J.W.S. Alexander, who was a Union officer that died in the Civil War. Well, the city fathers didn't like that particular name, so in 1896 they named it Reservoir Lake, okay? And by 1897 they decided that, okay, let's make it into a resort area. So on Arbor Day in 1896, school children planted 200 trees in the park just to beautify it. And then they decided we need a bandstand, we need a pavilion, and we need to improve the walkways in the park from west of the railroad bridge. Paris experienced some droughts, and that was a concern. You know, did we have enough water for drinking and all the other things? So in 1916, they created the East Lake Reservoir, which prompted the name change to Twin Lakes Park. In the south part of the park, around 1950, they built a baseball stadium, and this was to host the Paris Lakers baseball team. It was a Class D team, a farm team of the Chicago Cubs, and it was through the Midwest League, and they were here for 10 years. Very enthusiastic support for them. They had a lot of players from the old Negro leagues that were there, and you know, people would very much cheer them on. But in 1959, the team folded. In the late 1960s, they invited Satchel Paige of the old Negro leagues and the Major League Baseball leagues to come to Paris to play an exhibition game. Well, we fielded a team, he fielded a team from the Indianapolis area, and they came over and played the exhibition game. Afterwards, he offered to pitch to young baseball players to say that they got a hit off of Satchel Paige. If you were to visit Twin Lakes Park today, you might see a lot of the same things that were in 1896. They still have a beach, they have a miniature golf area, they have a nice concession stand, adequate restroom facilities, the Spicer Shelter, you can hold all kinds of activities there. They have a batting cage and a newly installed splash park for the young people. So there's still plenty of stuff to do today. And a lot of Facebook postings, people remember going to the beach parties that were there, going to the teen dance pavilion where you could hear the latest music. There was an arcade. People learned to dance there. There were summer romances there. And inevitably there was the cruising part of it, where you actually, if you had your license and were 16, you'd drive from the park down to the square in Paris, and it was just one continual loop. It turns out to be kind of a gathering place for people. 4th of July celebrations are still held there. The Christmas in the park. It becomes a focal point during the summertime. They have concerts out there, which are well attended by local people. So again, it turns out to be a gathering place even today.
Back in the early to mid 1800s, when the city of Paris started being organized, they needed fire protection. Back then, everything was bucket brigade, and it's very hard. You had heavy log structures. Unless you catch something very early, you don't have a very good chance of getting out structure fire, any fire, when you're hauling buckets. A little bit later, towards the late 1800s, they bought their some pull carts. The problem with those were you could get equipment to the scene, except you had to have gentlemen, you had to have firefighters, volunteers pull it. So unless they were ready to go, you had to get them to your station and start pulling the hose cart to the scene. At one point in time, Paris had 3 different little volunteer stations at Central and Main Street, on Court Street, and then on South Central. That way, since it was so hard to get to places and you had to get there quicker, they had a few more sitting around. Towards the late 1800s, they upgraded. They got a hose wagon and a ladder wagon that was pulled by horses. There were 3 horses, Dewey, Sly, and Samson, and they were named after what we've been told, old admirals from the Spanish-American War. A couple of the famous fires the city's known about is back in 1936, the Witt Seed Building. It was cold weather. I believe it was 18 below zero when they had this seed building fire. The only time the city of Paris has ever, to our knowledge, lost a firefighter was that fire. Firefighter Dewey Elliott lost his life fighting the blaze due to a wall collapse and debris that was thrown. He was the only firefighter in the city that has lost his life in the line of duty. But at that fire, there was also some other firefighters were injured. A police officer or 2 that were assisting were injured also. But Mr. Elliott, Firefighter Elliott, was the only one that did lose his life. In January of 1972, they had what they called the Levee Fire. Same thing, very cold. They fought this for days. Everything was iced over. The firefighters were covered in ice. The equipment was freezing. The buildings from the water dripping was covered in ice. And we've been told that some of the guys that had fought that they're long retired now, that they had a hard time getting up, to the upper floors with everything being slick. They'd have to use pickaxes to help pull themselves up and around to get there. And just trying to stay warm was a big problem back then. Our relationship with the community, I feel, is very good. If we're on a fire scene, if it's cold, if it's hot, not just with the Red Cross, but we'll have citizens bringing cool drinks, hot drinks, food for rehab. We've had people offer to try to help pull hoses if we needed it. When we're working on our training center and working on the community trails, people in the community found out we're out there doing stuff by hand. They volunteered, they donated man hours and equipment to come in, help cut trails, make the trails more walkable, make them smooth, and bring in whatever we needed to help make that a better place for the public. When September 11th rolls around, everybody knows what happened back in 2001. We'll have people with their children. They'll bring in food and snacks for the fire department. It's very appreciative of the guys. It lets everyone at our station know that people notice what we're doing, people appreciate what we're doing.
I'm specifically here representing First Christian Church, and I wanted to mention some of our community involvement. We believe that the church and Christians are to be involved in the community to make Paris a better place to be. So in the spring, when the first graders have been working on reading, we go into every first grade classroom in the city and present every student with a first grade level reading book. And as a part of that, I explain where we're from, but we come to promote reading. And the teachers love that. And for some of those kids, that's a first book they get to take home and have as their very own. But one of the things that everybody knows about with the publicity and all that is lunch on the lawn. So in the fall and in the spring, high school kids came over to the church. We provided a free lunch for them as a way of being a good neighbor. This past summer, when the high school moved out to the new location, we were getting all sorts of questions. What are we going to do about lunch on the lawn? And well, with the administration at the high school, they invited us to the campus. We went out, grilled hamburgers and hot dogs, and served all 600 plus students during their lunch hour during homecoming week. As a result of all this, I have people who come to the church because somebody has said, go there, they'll help you. Or others who walk in and say, I heard that you might be able to help me with this. And I get those who will call from the community and say, we have a need. How can we address this? What can you do? And we do that because we believe that we need to be involved in the community and try to make Paris a better place to be. Also, we're doing it primarily as a church because we want to take Christ beyond the doors of the church into the community. And we do that so others can see Christ in us and experience His love through what we do. One of the things that I've seen is that there's not just talk, we ought to do this. Somebody gets involved and gets something started, and then others join in, and then it goes from being a concern to talk to actually action. And the wonderful thing along with that is I've seen the follow-up then of making it come to life.
Those first pioneers that came to this part of the country in 1820 believed that they needed to have a little more formal type of education. So they hired a teacher and they started a school up, which happens to be North Arm School. In the next few years, there were hundreds of people that came to this community. There was even a school started in Paris about 1826. There was an act from the Illinois legislature that said that we need to measure out the sections and the townships of Edgar County. And also they set up a procedure which would allow for the taxing bodies to get enough money to make that what we call a free public school. In the 40s, there were 51 schools that were a part of the area that we would call now Community Unit District Number 4. And in 1945, there was a act that was declared and passed in the Illinois legislature where it says we need a school survey. And this was the first step of consolidation. There was a survey committee that worked on the idea of, how to implement this. How are we going to bring these kids together into what kind of groups? Each school would have like first and second grade at one location, third and fourth in one location, fifth and sixth in one, and then seventh and eighth in one. And they would be grouped with 4 schools in kind of a sub-district. And so that ended up being 17 schools that they were using at that time. They put up for a vote to do 3 things. One was to buy 30 acres of ground. One of them was to build a school there. And the other one was to come up with a fund of some kind that would provide $680,000 for the building of that school. Okay, now all of a sudden, we see the beginning of a real one school district, and it's called Crestwood. The 95 board and the Crestwood board were really searching to how could they do their school better without quite consolidating. So the idea of a cooperative high school came up. There had to be a special charter that came down from state legislature to allow this. It's the first time it's ever happened in Illinois. So I think that's the legacy, that maybe what can be left to the kids and the people of Edgar County, starting at that small little old school, and then building into, now we have Crestwood, and now we have the the high school. And I think that's just great. But that's pretty well my story. Pretty well, I think that I am just grateful that we have education in this community.
I'm going to tell a story about my dad. He was born in 1956. His name is Steve Comstock. He loves children, and he's a man with a big heart. He was born and raised in Paris and spent most of his life here. He's been a Mason since 2000 and a Shriner since 2002. He loves children. He is a clown in the parades, and he loves to give out toys and candy to the kids. One time he actually ran out of Hot Wheels that he gives to the little boys in the parades, and he got a dollar out of his pocket and gave it to a little boy because he didn't have any Hot Wheels left, and he knew that little boy was just waiting for a Hot Wheels. And just the look in his eyes made my dad happy. My brother was born with clubbed feet, and the Shriner Hospital put casts on his legs and turned his legs completely around. And that's one of the main reasons why my dad is a Mason and a Shriner. That has a lot to do with his whole life. The kids will actually stand waiting for my dad to come down the street because he will shove his coat full of Hot Wheels and he'll shove it full of little crowns for the girls, and they actually stand out there and wait, and he just doesn't like to pass up any kid. He likes to hand them out to as many as he can, so he always runs out halfway through the parade and he'll give out money, change, whatever he has. He's just has the biggest heart of any man I know. And he wants to bring back the old days where he remembers going to see Santa Claus and getting an orange and an apple and a candy cane and some candy, and the true meaning of Christmas. He really brings that back when he plays Santa Claus. He's just really pretty much my hero.
Woo-hoo! How exciting! We are having a great time here in the building tonight. Wasn't that a great story, man with a big heart?
I'll tell you what, those Comstocks are awesome people.
They are.
Really, really special people.
There's some of those people, the first time you met them, we just fell in love with
Bonded, and
Bonded.
I cried in their store.
That's the way
That's
we roll.
how we make friends in Paris.
Speaking of the way we roll, we are up to 105 callers, so let's give Paris a hand. Let's give a shout out to Jay Renee from Hume, Judy from Vermilion, Terry from Paris, Tom from Paris, and Scott from Paris. And I want to give a gigantic yoo-hoo congratulations to the Mayo and the Crestwood 8th grade volleyball teams. They won their regional game.
Yay! Way to go!
Way to go!
I'll tell you what, someone's on the phone right now. They're already getting us going.
They're getting us going.
I'll tell you what.
So we're at 105. We want to get to 135. So we're looking for 30 people that haven't given yet tonight, or if you've already given, you can call again. That would be fine too. Let's get the phones busy.
I'll tell you what, Paris is all about bees, and we believe in Paris tonight.
Yes,
we
we
believe
do.
that you can make 30 calls right now, but we've got one on the phone, we got 7 standing by, so be sure to give us a call right now.
You can give it the $75 level, and we would be thrilled to give you a DVD of the program. If you want two, it's $120, and from there on, anything can go.
Anything can go. Hey, you know what? We've been giving out thank you shouts all night long, and I want to give a few more out. Savoya's Pizza was kind enough to let us have their pizza here in the studio tonight to feed all the hungry folks who are working hard in here.
Excellent.
Thank you, Savoya's Milk Specialties has been a special part of this program, and
Taryn is the one that got that going, and we really appreciate her and all the folks that work at Milk Specialties.
And her mom is sitting back here on the phone bank. This is Kim right back here, and she's a very special lady, as well as Renee, because where's Renee? She was back here. Renee is over there on the other side. They got our championship, well, it is a championship.
Yes, it is.
Champion group off the floor, and they got us going. And then also Tom Habermill got our stories going because he gave us a list. So thank you to Tom Habermill, the Champion Group, and Chuck Hand. I want to give a shout out to you tonight because you supplied us with so many things for this set tonight. We want to thank you. But we also want to thank you for calling in. Get these phones ringing,
let's
people.
Go. How many is it going to take? Who's going to be the first one right now? Who's going to be first? Come on, we're going to keep this going till you give us a call. The number's at the bottom of your screen. What a great program that you can have in your treasure of DVDs for years and years and years. How many of you have a grandma that was born and raised in Paris, and she might be living somewhere else right now? Wouldn't she love a DVD of this program, the community that she grew up in, the community that she went to school in, and she had kids in? So let's give us a call right now. Let's find out how many more people want to support a program like this. Kiana, it's over to you.
There's somebody calling right now that wants to support, so let's get those phones ringing. It's exciting when all the phones are ringing. Nels Casey is sitting here with me. He will be taking a phone call here shortly. I just have a feeling about that. But I'll tell you what, Nels, you did a story on the Great Heart Seed, which is an awesome story, lots of history there. Why did you think it was important to share that story?
Oh, sure. First of all, it was a lot of fun to do the story. It was a lot of fun to research that story and really learned a lot about it. But we wanted the town to know how important it's been to Great Heart Seed and what it's become over the years, how it started, and a little something about the people in the community around Paris, not just in town but in the area, that helped build it and watch it progress just as agriculture has in East Central Illinois.
Absolutely, and I think you got that point across, and I thank you for being a part of this program. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. I tell you what, we've made so many friends in Paris, and several of them are still with us here tonight. We're live here in WEIU. They're taking your phone calls. That's Mary Liz right there. And I'll tell you what, we've got some more phones ringing. We still have a few standing by right now to take your calls, so be sure to give us a call right now. Celebrate Paris with us right now. We still have a lot more stories to share with you, but we want to shift it back over to Jana because I don't know if you have any thank yous or what you have to say right now.
Thank you, Kian. I do have a thank you to Mike from Paris. Thank you, number 106. So thank you so much. Some of the stories we just watched, the Christmas basket, Scott Barrett. What an amazing story. Just another example how Paris people come together. I loved watching those stream of cars waiting on that Saturday morning just to pick up all those baskets and to distribute them to people in Paris. The Paris High School, what a beautiful, beautiful facility. We had a great time having our premiere there. The Edgar County Humane Society, Lisa did a fantastic job, and her dog Daisy is the cutest dog I've ever seen. Right now, if you want to give us a call, we've got We've got 3 phone lines that are open. We need you to call tonight. If this program has touched your heart in any way, we need you to call. DVD at $75 level, we'd love to send it to you. What if you'd want to? That's $120. Ken, we're over to you. What do you got?
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the stories I really enjoyed was Roger Stanley talking about the uniqueness of the school districts in Paris. They have 2 school districts, and they went from that little old country schoolhouse to all of those different schools, and then that cooperative high school, which is enormous and amazing. It is beautiful. We held our premiere there, and it was a special place. They've got lots of things going on over there, and I'll tell you what, Paris has welcomed us into their high school, into their schools, into their town, and into their hearts. And we want to thank them for that. We know you're thanking them for it by calling in with your contribution of support. And there's 44 stories. Storytellers volunteer for this program. And that's what they decided to do. They wanted to make sure that they were showcasing Paris tonight all across the world, over the internet, online, WEIU.net. All you have to do is pick up that phone right now. Make sure you give them a call. If you're kicked back in your recliner, sitting there enjoying the show tonight, just pick up that cell phone. You don't even have to get up. All you have to do is just pick it up, take a drink, and say, hey, thank you so much. We're enjoying Paris. We're learning a lot. Shana, back to you.
Thank you, Ken. Before we even go any farther, I want to give a gigantic thank you to Jamie Littleton. He was amazing, helping us to use the facility at Ernie Evelyn Gym, the beautiful gym that we interviewed all of our storytellers at. Jamie went above and beyond to help us. So Jamie, if you're watching, thank you from the bottom of our heart. We so appreciated your help there. We are excited that there's a lot of people on the phone. We're waiting for Phil to get a call, and this side over here needs some call. I think Nell's just got one calling. So keep on calling. We appreciate your calling. I think she wants to have a talk with him.
I do. I've been trying to showcase some of the storytellers over here this evening on the phone bank. I have Mr. Phil Lewis here tonight, and he's been so good in promoting tonight's program. And Phil, you did the story on the Twin Lakes Park, and such a beautiful park that is. Why did you want to make sure people knew about that?
Well, for one thing, most of us kind of grew up around there, and we, did a lot of activities there, and I have a lot of photos of it. So I decided why not. And one thing that didn't make it into the series was the trolley car route that ran from the southern part of town out to the Reservoir Park, and there was a turnaround, and they could go back south, and that was a neat thing. And then they had a Civilian Conservation Corps encampment there in the 1930s, and they did all kinds of reparations, around town and so on. And the joke was that mothers and fathers, put up your girls because the CCC boys are in town.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's another story for you. I tell you what, the stories just keep coming out of Paris. And right there's some special things to learn about. Twin Lakes Park, beautiful park. They have lots of events over there. But right now we need to make sure that you are enjoying these programs and the stories in this program. Do you have some more thank yous, Jana?
I sure do. We'd like to give a thank you to Dave and Joan from Paris, John from Petersburg. Thank you so much. Carol from Georgetown called and she said, I do not want the DVD. I just want to give a donation to the program. So thank you so much. Jean from Paris. And again, another congratulations to the Mayo and Crestwood 8th grade volleyball teams. They won their regional games, so thank you so much. Maybe you're one of those girls' parents, and you're just now getting home. So now's your time to give us a call.
We have great stories coming up for you. Edgar County Fair, Illinois Cereal Mill, Splash Park, about the glass-blowing dream of a very special person. Hospital volunteers, because there are a lot of volunteers in Paris, and a lot of them are here tonight. First United Methodist Church, the Paris Art Center, and Paris Hat Project. There's a lot of philanthropy that goes on in Paris, and they're spreading that throughout WEIU tonight, over the airwaves, over the internet, and right here in the studio.
Well, and that's the people that are calling here tonight. Right now, we've had 110 people call tonight,
Yes.
so let's give them a... We'd like to get up to 130. We're thankful for the 110, but we need to get to the goal of 130. So right now, if you haven't given yet, give us a call. Our phone operators will be on. They'll be here even though if we go back to the program. So give us a call. $75 will get you one DVD, $120 will get you two, and then it goes up from there.
That's right. So think about those people that you want to get gifts for all the holidays. We've said this all evening long. We know people have been giving shout outs, and we've got some more shout outs right now. I've got Roger from Paris, Jill from Paris, Joshua, Sarah, Lexi, and Fox from Paris, and Jim from Paris.
Yay!
So thank you so very much for all of that.
We are so thrilled and so happy and so thankful. And actually, we're a blessed bunch tonight to have all these great storytellers come in, answer the phone, and obviously told the story of their hometown.
And we've got more stories to share with you right now, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you stand by, watch these programs, and give us a call.